Good morning. Welcome to Coach's Portal. Ronnie Gatry, our producer over here, got Brad Castro with us this morning, and just really thankful for you being on the show with us. A little bit about Brad. Brad, we've known each other about 4 or 5 years now, and it's really awesome connect that Brad was on the board and founding this organization called Christ Fit over in the Woodlawn area, using fitness and CrossFit just to mentor and be in the area. And through that, friendship has just, been cultivated. And now I think everything from multiple meetings throughout the week to pretty much leveraging every resource we have together for the kingdom. It's been a journey, bro. So thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So just getting into it this morning, I know that one of our first questions is kind of every week is, man, tell us a little bit about your story and help us put on your lens and how you see the world.
All right. So I've been thinking about how to answer this because it's kind of a loaded question. I think it's a loaded question for everybody. It's okay. When did life begin? Right. So where does your story begin? So my story really begins January 4th, 2008 at 11:53 p.m. and 22 seconds. I know this very well.
Wait, hold on. Wait, go back again. Say it again because that was awesome.
So life for me begins January 4th, 2008 at 11:53 p.m. and 22 seconds. So back up a little bit. I was kind of living my life, kind of like Miles' story last week, partying, just thinking that is what life has to offer. Partying, sleeping with women, just kind of doing whatever I felt good, but wasn't following Christ. Even though I knew him, I'd had that relationship as a kid. My parents had that relationship. My family had that relationship, but I just thought I knew better. And so I'm just living in that sin every single day and rationalizing it. And so my cousin reaches out to me and says, how do you know what you're doing right now is better, that you're happier right now than you would be if you were living with Christ? So he challenged me. Being a competitor, I was like, okay, cool. He's like, all right, so what I want you to do for the next year is read this book, Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, and I want you to take out all negative media in your life. And so dating this girl in college, laying in bed next to her, and I'm reading the book. Kind of seems a little weird, laying in bed next to a girl that you're not married to, reading a book by a pastor. So I'm reading it, and we get to this point where it's like, at this moment, give your life to Christ. And so I remember looking at my watch, and I had a little scratch paper next to me, and I wrote down on it, from this day forward, I'm a slave to Christ. And that was at 11:53 and 22 seconds.
Wow.
So fast forward even further than that, kind of a really cool part was the woman that God destined for me to marry. January 4th is her birthday. That was her 20th birthday. So yeah,
wow, man.
I'm laying in bed while someone I've never even met on the total opposite side of the state is celebrating her birthday. And I didn't know that until we'd been dating for a while. And I bring out a piece of paper that I still carry with me with that on it. And she's like, oh yeah, it's my birthday. And I was like, all right, yeah, I got you, God. Yeah. This is awesome. Wow. So that leads into the time, talent, treasure that we'll get into in a little bit from Purpose-Driven Life. Before that, so we can kind of take a step back now, right? So that's where life for me began, was when I started to follow Christ. Has it been perfect ever since then? No. Do I fall? Yeah. Absolutely. I'm imperfect. Always will be until I get to heaven, right? So go back from there. I'm from Southern California, born and raised kind of up and down the coast, had parents that tried their best always to take care of us and put food on the table, but it never was really always a reality. So we moved all the time. I lived in 36 different cities before I left my parents' house.
Wow.
Yeah. And every city wasn't like a house. Sometimes it was the Fire Truck Motel was one of the most iconic places that we ever lived in. It was this little hotel somewhere in California. I have no idea where it was. The only source of food we had was a broken vending machine there on the property. And our source of fun was me and my brother. There was a dump behind the hotel, and we'd go up there and jump up and down on the mattresses. And that to me was like one of the coolest memories. And you'd think that's really sad, but it was like, this is awesome. Like, we have mattresses to jump on and we're having fun. But when you really look back at it, and being a father now, like that awful environment, I couldn't imagine putting my kids through it, but just the way that God protected me and my siblings through it, to say, hey, this is fun. This is awesome. And so we had several steps like that. But then Dad would get a job where he's making, $100,000 a year, and we're living great. And then that would go, and we'd be right back where it is. So we kind of made our way down Southern California, from Sacramento down, kind of back up. When I was 14 years old. So it was, when I was 14 years old. All right. It was, my dad got a job in Alabama. And so we didn't have a place to live, but my mom had a friend that took her, my brother, and my sister in. And my mom was like, hey, we have, 3 kids. We can't do this. And I said, no, you guys go for it. I'll figure it out. And so I'm 14 years old. I look at 14-year-olds now, and I'm like, there's no way in the world that you can go do what I did. And I lived on the streets until my parents had a place for us in Alabama to move to. But back then, again, God just put this covering over me and was like, this is fun. I had a backpack full of clothes. I had my skateboard, and I just kind of roamed. Went from buddy's house to buddy's house, park to park, and just enjoyed life. And I still look back at that as one of the coolest times of my life.
I was at 14.
At 14.
Jeez.
Yeah. So 14, Dad gets set up here, working at Sarah Toyota, I think it was, in Center Point. We moved down here. I still remember getting into Alabama. I get off the plane. All I'd heard was Alabama's backwards. Everybody rides tractors. All right, so I'm 14 years old. I'm exhausted. I get off the plane. I fall asleep in the car. I wake up on Grants Mill Road. I know where it is now. I look out the front window. No joke. There's a dude on a tractor in overalls, no shirt on, driving in front of us.
Yes.
And I was like, yep, that's where we're living.
Right on.
Yep.
Right on. Man.
Oh.
Wow. What a story, man.
So that got me here to Alabama.
A lot to go from there. Yeah, man. So married now, 2 kids.
Yep.
Just looking back over that time, I know we're going to get into time, talent, treasure, but just looking back now that you have a family, 2 kids, pick a story that just really means so much to you and the environment you seek to provide for them now. So what you saw, something maybe you learned, but you're like, man, this taught me something now that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I was putting you on the spot a little bit here.
And there's a lot. And some of the things that we learn are from the things that we see that we're like, yes, I want to be like that. And some of the things that we learn and some of the more powerful things that we learn are the things that we go through and we're like, I'm never going to go through that, or my kids are never going to go through that.
Yeah.
And so my father, if you meet him, he has the biggest heart. It doesn't necessarily mean, he always provided for us, but he would take the shirt off his back. At one time we had enough money for not a Big Mac, but a Whopper. And he split it between the 3 of us, and he didn't eat. And it's like, okay, so I am never going to put my kids through this. So what do I have to do? So I'm going to go out and get my education. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to work my butt off every single day to make sure that I'm going to do that. But outside of that, I'm going to be in a position where I can spend time with my kids, where I can really invest in them and love them and be there for them every day. And now I'm in a position where at 3:00 on Friday, if I want to go pick up my kid early from daycare, I'm going to go do it. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go out and we're going to go do stuff and have fun. And I'm going to, I don't ever remember my dad kissing me as a kid. My son is going to grow up and be like, my dad kissed me every minute of every stinking day. Yeah. And my dad loves me.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in a different way than my dad loved me. But it's really cool because I get to provide all these things, and my dad now gets to kind of be a part of this. Yeah. He's there every day watching my kids during the quarantine. So that's been really cool. But he gets to live the life that he really wanted to live through us and a part of it. And I am just so excited that he gets to be a part of that and love my kids and do the things that he wanted to do. And so, it's awesome. It's a lot of life lessons of watching people and seeing what they did that I wanted to do, and then also seeing the things that my dad didn't get to do, and being like, I'm going to make sure whatever I got to do, this is going to happen.
So what do you do right now? What's the job day to day? And What's that look like?
Oh, Lord, if you guys know me watching this, listening to this, I am not an HVAC repairman, even though I try to be. I run a commercial real estate company owned by Bill Slappy, Omega Property. We own buildings all throughout Birmingham. We also own residential properties in Cayman and Colorado, and another residential property in Pell City. So we're kind of all over the place. We're on call 24/7.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. I manage a team of 5, 6, 7, 8 people, something like that, day to day. And then we have construction crews that do all of our build outs.
Yeah.
And
something great about Brad is that I always give Brad a hard time if we have our weekly fun time. We call it weekly Wednesday meeting at 8. And we always dream together, vision, hope, ask the Lord what's next. And then I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Brad, you got a family member or someone you know that knows how to do that, right? He's like, yeah, we got a astronaut in the family. We got this in the family. So that's been awesome, man. So, as we move, I'd love for you to kind of go into the time, talent, treasure. And so each week there's 3 things that if I ask people, I'm like, okay, what are 3 things that you really try to live your life by, your why, and you implement them in your marriage, you implement them with your kids, and you implement them with your staff or your crew that you're getting to lead or just be with. So you can go through them and boom, 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 or you can start at time and whichever way you want to go and kind of go from there.
Yeah. All right. So go back to January 4th, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever read through Purpose Driven Life, you'll read that, okay, you have, what is your purpose in life? Your purpose is to give back your time, your talent, and your treasure. Your treasure is the money that God entrusts with you, because money is not ours, it is His. We simply get to use it for His will, right? So your time. As an economist, we know that you have certain, commodities that are cannot be replenished, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't get back time. So that's our most precious commodity. Mm-hmm. And so where am I going to be when I die? And say, okay, yeah, I wish I'd spent more time. Like, people always say more time at the office. No, we're not saying that. I wish I'd spent more time with my family. I wish I'd spent more time in ministry, loving on kids in the inner cities, in other countries. What is it? What is it that drives you? Where do you want to spend your time? Because at the end of the day, you don't get back any second, right? So I was talking about my kids. I want to spend that time with my kids. I want to spend that time with my wife. So every single day, I have to analyze my time, my talent. My talents are, well, I'm not very talented.
Not true.
My talent would be networking. My talent would be, sometimes it's a time and a talent. It's just going out and spending time with my property manager, Stuart, teaching him how to do his brakes. It's probably not the most cost-effective way of doing it, but it's something cool that I get to do with him and experience, teach him. And I'm doing that with my kid. We bought a 64 Ford F-100. Not because I have the time to go do this, but because I want to spend that time with my father-in-law and my son to rebuild. Because I don't want my kid spending time in front of video games growing up. I want him wrenching. I want him doing something with his hands. I want something tangible that when I die, he's going to take with him. And we bought an Airstream. Again, not because I have time to remodel an Airstream, but because my wife had this dream of remodeling an Airstream her whole life. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. So it's time with my wife. It's building something together. And then what is it from there? It's spending time with my family on vacations where we're unplugged in the wilderness at a lake doing something, just being together in a small confined area. We don't get back time. So what are we doing now to prepare for the future, to spend time with our kids?
Yeah, one thing that I've really noticed over your life, just with me, but with also people that I connect you to, is availability, is making yourself available to people. And you give your time and talent, whatever. We were joking before the podcast today of meetings that I invite you into. But just you're always available for people. And that's really powerful to me as a friend. But just love that about you. So thank you for that. But what do you feel like, just very simple, practically, we're always going crazy. I mean, work and ball games and this and that. How do you give someone like an action step to start with time, like to make the best use of your time with your family or with your wife? Is that unplugging? You mentioned that at a point. Like, where can you start? Because we all want to work towards like vacations. We want to work towards, oh man, I want to do something with my kid, like rebuild this car. But where could we start very simply?
That's a great question. It's something I work on every day. Being intentional with your time.
Yeah.
So for me, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. I have go home on my calendar.
Really?
I do.
Man.
With my home address.
Yes.
So that it tells me not only that it's time to go home, but how long it's going to take me to get there. So if there's traffic, it'll say, get your butt home.
Not that you don't know how to get there.
Yes.
It's just you. Just wanted to clarify that.
I don't know. I get so busy sometimes. I'll get on autopilot and end up at Nick's house, and I'm like, what in the world am I doing here? The Lord was calling me over here to rebuild his roof.
That's exactly.
Not sure.
Yeah. No, man, that's good.
Lunch is on there. Go to work is on there. I'm not kidding. Everything is on my calendar.
Yeah,
if I've got meetings, I put that on my calendar. And then when I get home, I have a rule with my office that unless I'm on call, everybody else is out of town, I've got a 3-hour window to get back to you. So I get home and I'm not perfect at it, but I try and set my phone down and love my kid. Yeah. I sit my truck up at the top of the driveway and honk my horn, and he comes running to the door, and I sit him on my lap and we drive down the driveway, and that's like my introduction to being home. But you have to be intentional. You can't get distracted by all of the things that life throws at you, because it does, and it will. And if you let it, it won't stop.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get on like a calendar? So I got like a funny story, and this is why I asked this question, because I used to, I don't know how old I am now, 32. Yeah, 32. But like 8 or 9 years of been trying to keep a calendar. The first 2 years, I had the hard copy calendar, and I lost it both years. Like a month in the first time, and then I gave up for a little bit, and then the next year I tried again. I made it 3 months. And then the third year, I actually made it a full year without losing my calendar. Okay, and then I was able to move to Google by fourth year and keep everything on my phone. But it took me 4 years to get a freaking calendar and to actually learn how to use it. But I think that's one of the hardest things, is that to actually stay with it, and not give up after, a week or two, but really try to trust that process of being intentional over time. Last week we talked with Miles about faithfulness over time, and just to stick with it. We want to be with our kids, and you keep going back to, I'm not perfect. Is that when we make that mistake, do we have the grace to move on and try to get back to it the next day? So the question was, how long did it take you to figure out how to use a calendar? Great question. Thanks, Ronnie. I see your excitement over there with my question.
I didn't really get efficient at using my calendar until stuff started falling through the cracks at work. So when stuff started falling through the cracks, and I'm like, oh, this isn't getting done. Well, why is it getting done? Because I'm being pulled off in too many different directions, and I'm forgetting things. Somebody calls me up and says, hey, I need a space showed at 1 o'clock, and I'm over at an emergency at 12:54, and remember, oh yeah, I got a space showing 30 minutes away. So that's when it was like, okay, I either have to hire somebody to do a calendar for me, which I don't have the money to do that, or I just have to get better at this. So I sat down and spoke with my wife, and I was like, hey, will you send me calendar invites to everything that we have going on personally too? So all of our kids' doctor's appointments, she sends it to me. If we're going out of town, she sends it to me. And so getting your wife or significant other on board with it as well, to start using it together. It doesn't have to be your same calendar. You can have separate calendars. Just send each other invites.
Right.
And that's what we do. So like, I'll look at it and be like, yeah, okay, we've got, Poppy's 2-month checkup. Yeah. We've got dinner with, Nick and Kat. We've got whatever it is. It's on my calendar, so I know what's going on.
That's good, man. I definitely, you are saying right now that your wife is more organized than you?
Oh, absolutely. You've met her. way
Yeah,
more.
man. So let's go into a little bit of that talent. We are working on this thing called the Cultural Center. It's been a journey of over a year now of so many different sit downs. But you said earlier you weren't talented, but you're one of the most gifted dudes at an Excel document and building out these pro formas in literally 45 seconds. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. But just what have you seen? Me and Miles were talking about this last week of people want to do something good. They feel a conviction. They don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all gifted and talented in so many different ways. But what can we tell our listeners of how did you figure out what your talent was and just how to leverage it?
Yeah, no, that's awesome, actually. And so I tell it back to the kids that I mentor. You don't always necessarily have the treasure portion of it, but you absolutely have the talent and you absolutely have the time. So, yeah, what are you gifted at? Are you good in fitness? Okay, start a running group. Are you talented in Excel? I'm not going to charge for this. I'm going to give it out freely. I'm going to help with it. I'm going to, what was it? I think Amantha called about an issue on a property, and it was like, okay, I know how to do this. Let's spend 5 minutes, look it up, and give out the information. Like, what is it when people call on you for help? Can you do? And so, yeah, everybody has something that they can give. It doesn't have to be $1 million. It can simply be going and sitting with somebody, helping somebody, do their laundry that's been hurt. I had a buddy that came over and mowed my grass for a couple of weeks when I hurt my hand. Stuff like that. And he didn't, it was just like, hey, I have a landscaping service. I'm going to be over there. Like, I'm taking care of you. And that to me just like showed so much love. I am a acts of service and the time, quality time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love languages.
Yeah, my love languages. So that to me just like loved on me so much. So I don't know if that's very tangible for everybody
it's very
listening.
tangible. I think it always comes back to we feel like we have to do these huge things, and we really don't. They're little small convictions to like act on, and it's leveraging what God gave you at any moment throughout the day. So the last thing talking about a little bit is treasure, and this is a tough one, right? Because treasure. What is treasure? It's like our most like protected items. If you try to take one of the treasures away from my 5-year-old, he gonna knock you out.
Yeah.
So we are saying treasure, and we are to give it. I mean,
yeah.
Come on now.
It's not that we're see. It's getting past that mentality of giving. We're not giving. You can't give something that's not yours, right? And I've actually had the hardest time with this. I teach about tithing all the time to all of our kids, and we're going through budgets. It's, hey, your first 10% goes back to God. Not you give it to God. It goes back to God because it is His. I've always had a hard time giving my 10%, as I say it that way, back to the church because of, I guess, childhood hurts with the church. So I have a hard time with that. If you ask me for $100, yeah, all day here. Yeah. It's not mine. It's God's. Yeah. Let's give it.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's your treasure is the money that God entrusts in you, and we just have to remember that if He wants it, He's going to take it. He doesn't have a cash flow problem, right? And so He has given us skills. He's given us talents. He's given us the ability to earn a living, right? And so that money He is giving to you to use for His purpose. And that purpose is taking care of my family. That purpose is buying a 64 Ford to raise my child. That purpose is buying the Airstream.
Yeah.
But that purpose is also, getting Danielle pizza the other day when he didn't have lunch.
Right.
And not thinking of that as, hey, what I'm doing for you. It's you need this. God trusted me with it. Here, let's go do this.
Everything comes back to intentionality. Everything you're talking about is intentional and willing. I'm always seeking to be intentional and willing with whatever I've been given. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know what you got over there, Ronnie. You got a thought?
I do. Brad, you made me think of something when you were talking about growing up, and your father and how it translates to how your father and your kids. Growing up, was that a need of yours? Do you think to be shown affection by your dad, things like that? Just curious.
I probably would say that now, looking back at it. I don't think I ever really. I don't know. I really think God just placed a covering over me and protected me from those needs. My mom is super over affectionate, so maybe that compensated for it. I am definitely much more like my mother when it comes to affection and love and talk. I feel her talking and love language big time because my dad still is a very quiet man. And so she'll call me just to talk sometimes, get her 10,000 words out because my dad's not going to let her. But yeah, I would probably say that, every kid needs their father to love them. Every kid needs their father to affirm them. Yeah. And you can have a dad that says, yeah, good job, but you also need a dad that embraces you and hugs you and loves you. And there's no image better than that, than our Heavenly Father, who just holds us and makes us feel good. And so we see that with the kids in these inner cities where fatherlessness is huge. They got a mother there, but they don't have that father, so they're telling you that they're proud of you and hugging you and embracing you. So it's so important that we turn their attention then back to our Heavenly Father and say, hey, you have this. He's there. He loves you.
Yeah, that's so good.
And so, but yeah.
It's a really great question. I think we were talking after the podcast last week in 3 different situations of how I see the Father show us as fathers how to be, where the scripture talks about he lavishes us with all good things. And then also where he speaks to Jesus when he comes out of the water. This is something I try to say to my boys every night before they go to bed. He says, you are my son who I love and I am pleased with. And this is right before God, or before Jesus goes out and does anything. He just affirms Jesus and who he is. And
think about how empowering that is for your kids.
It's crazy, man.
It's what can you not accomplish when you have your father in your background?
Yeah.
That just believes in you.
Yeah.
Instead of beating you down your entire life, you're worthless, you're nothing. But a father that says you can do anything, I love you, I'm pleased.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Kids are going to conquer the world, bro.
Yeah. So awesome, man. Well, I want to tell a story before we wrap up today, but it was a really incredible story. We were looking for a space for our school, and this has been a journey for our school, Ronnie. This is probably one of the most powerful stories of all time that I've had with God. We were at Shades, and they were awesome there. We went to Memorial Park, and multiple times we had to leave Memorial Park, but at this time it was a week before school was about to start, and things changed, and we could not start school there. So we got about 60 kids that are looking forward to go to school, and we don't have a place. We're searching all throughout the city. We don't know what to do. Where are we going to be? And one of the nights, it's just at home. It's at the end of the week, and we're sitting on the couch. Kat's like, what are we going to do about school? And I'm like, babe, what kind of question is that? What do you think I've been trying to do all week and think through all week? I know no one else. I know so many people, but no one will give us a space for our school. And then I didn't respond that way. I was pretty intense, but that was what's going on in my head. I was like, babe, I don't know. I don't know. And then God was like, yeah, you need to ask me. I was like, God, I have been asking you. He's like, no, you don't know. You don't know. So I was like, okay, fine, God, I'll play this game with you. This is my conversation with God. I'll play this game with you. I will start on the north side of every person I know, from the north side of Birmingham all the way. We'll move to the south side. We'll move to Vestavia. We'll move all the way around. So I get to the north side, and I'm like, go through names. I'm like, nope, already asked. Nope. And I'm like, get to your name. And I'm like, what? I'm texting Brad right now. He's like, text Brad. So I text you. I'm like, hey, man, do you have time to talk in the morning? I really need to ask you something. He's like, yeah, call me at 9. So I call Brad the next morning at 9. I say, hey, man, here's the situation. our school, we're in need, this is where we're at, and we need a spot within a week. Your first response was, yes, give me 3 hours. I need to check with my partners. But yes, you call me back in 30 minutes and you say, hey, when your teachers want to come see the space. And later that day, we were able to bring our teachers by into, of course, Omega Tech property now. And we had 8 rooms, the biggest space, the best space that we've ever had within 3 hours. And it's just an incredible testament to God and then also you. I think of leveraging time, that talent and treasure, just to say, man, I give it freely. So yeah, brother, thank you so much. Thank you for your heart, for your life, and continue to teach me every single day. But thank you for being on the podcast today. And
yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, y'all have a good day, and be intentional today and leverage what you have.